Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel. And following on from the last video we did, we have got another exceptionally exciting Beretta to show you today. The reason I did these in a row is because we've done the Beretta 682 Goldie video, check it out. We've done the Beretta 694 video, check it out. We've done the Beretta 682 Supersport video, check that out. And this kind of fills in the gap between the 682 Supersport and the 682 Goldie. So the gun we're looking at today is the Beretta 682 Gold. Now, as you would imagine, this is a 682 platform, so it's an out-and-out clay gun, out-and-out competition gun, but it does differ quite a lot from the previous video, which was the 682 Supersport. The 682 Gold was launched in 1995 from memory, and what they did, as all shotgun manufacturers do, is they looked at the current model, which would have been the 682, which they did with a silver action, not done one yet, but we'll absolutely do one, and the 682 Supersport, and they decided it needed a bit of a revamp, a bit of a refresh, but again, very solid, very proven design that didn't need a lot doing to it, but cosmetically they changed a few things, and also they changed a few bits with the stock and also with the barrel length, which is interesting. So this gun has been sourced with the usual Eastfield selection process, which basically means, is it the best example we can find? Yes. Is it in original condition? Yes. Has it got all the bits and pieces with it? Yes. Right. So this one is a 1996, I think, 96 or 97. Start with the action. If you watch the 682 Supersport video, you will recognize the design of it, the fact that we talked about the removable shoulders. Same again on this, because it's designed to be a high shot count gun. Not a phrase I've heard before, but a few American clients have mentioned it to me, and I've kind of adopted it because I quite like it. High shot count, right? So high shot count gun, very, very durable, very solid in the action. Now, what they did with the 682 Gold, as you can see, is they changed the finish on the action. And this is actually called Greystone. I don't know what it is, and I can't find out what it is. So feel free to tell me if you know. But it's a much more glossy finish. It's not. I wouldn't say it was parkerizing. It's certainly not anodizing. It is a chemical process that isn't bluing. But either way, I think it looks absolutely brilliant. So it's not in your face. It's still understated. You've got these lovely gold bits and pieces. You've got P. Beretta, which is the main man himself, 682 Gold. And then you've got your Trident logo with these kind of Olympic-related leafy things. Trigger guard, same finish again. Again, nice and nicely done with the Trident logo and the bit of these bit of leafy stuff with the bushes on the bottom. Gold trigger, standard, adjustable, standard on a 682. All the 682 Sporters always had an adjustable trigger. I'm pretty certain the trap guns did, although I couldn't be certain that the skeet gun did. Now, this gun, again, was available in sporting, it was available in trap, and it was available in skeet. Trap guns, not very common. Skeet guns, scarce as you like. Only ever seen one, probably never see another one. So if you have got one of those, you are one of the very, very small number of people that own one of those guns. So that's the action, completely new finish. And they didn't stop there. So what they did with the barrels is they went over to matte finish. So we talked in the 682 Supersport video that they used to paint them once upon a time. Then they went over to standard chemical bluing. And this, which I can only assume they copied from the likes of possibly Perazzi, certainly Winchester towards the back end of the production, 6500s, etc. Some of those had matte finish barrels, and it just looks really, really cool. The only downside with matte finish barrels is when you scratch them, they do tend to be a bit more noticeable than with a conventional blue barrel. So this gun is interesting. The barrel length is 30 3/4 inches, which I think is about 780 millimeters, something like that, centimeters even. And again, this was kind of an experiment from Beretta. So at this time, alongside the 682 Gold, you have the 686 Silver Pigeon matte finish barrel sporter and the 687 Silver Pigeon. And they produced these in 29.5 inch, which you've seen before, but they also did 30 3/4 and 31.5 For me, it screams that's what Perazzi have always done. So I think they looked at the market, they decided they wanted in on these different barrel lengths, and ultimately what a shotgun manufacturer does when they produce something that's a bit off the wall is it creates another whole range of products to sell to their suppliers and their wholesalers. So it's actually a really clever idea, because what they did is they went from having a 29.5-inch gold or a 30-inch gold to being able to offer 4 different barrel lengths. Ultimately, you would have thought they would sell more guns because it would give the end user, the consumer, more of a choice. So 30 3/4, which if you've ever shot one is absolutely brilliant, because if you like long barrels, you like 32, but you find that sometimes it's just a little bit too much gum for close stuff. 30 3/4 is great because it's a very versatile barrel length. Perazzis have always been popular in 30 3/4, and I can see why. Now, the other change they made, they changed the rib. So they actually went on the 682 Gold from the standard tapered rib to what was almost completely parallel, 11mm, apart from it tapered down slightly at the breech, like 7. Again, very, very similar to Perazzi. Perazzi still produce 7 11mm ribs today, and they are still very popular. So it's almost like someone who used to work at Perazzi went to work at Beretta and came up with some ideas, but who knows. So matte finish barrels, ventilated, mobile chokes as well. This is before, obviously, the 682 Goldie video. If you've not seen it, check it out. Was the first Beretta to be overboard and to use the Optima choke system. Prior to that, it was all mobile. So, you know, people go on about the whole fiber wad thing. It was never a problem, and it's not really a problem today in my eyes with overboring. Yes, it depends on the chokes and the cartridges, but if we look back here at a time when everything pretty much, apart from maybe Browning's, Invector Plus was out about this time, so they were overboring their barrels. But at the time, Beretta side decided the competition guns should be nominal bored, as the game guns were, and that is how they produced them. So this gun, interestingly as well, is 3-inch chambers. So not something you would normally expect from a competition gun. Prior to this, all the 682s were 2 3/4, which is 70mm. So now they decided to make one with 3-inch chambers. Maybe because this gun looked a little bit less like a clay gun. You know, it was a nice sort of a crossover gun. Who knows? Or maybe because it made the barrels lighter. Not entirely sure, but that it is what it is. And they moved over to 2 3/4, and well, they moved to 3-inch chambers. Not steel shot proofed again, because 1996 it wasn't really something that was looked at. So quite a few changes really with the barrel. So you can imagine the advert in the magazine and the sporting gun. Try the new Beretta Gold. It's got a different length barrels. It's got a different rear, but it's matte finished. It's cool. It's cool. Now moving on to the stock. Although before we do that, let's do the balance test, because that obviously is very important. You know, I've watched many videos on YouTube. Some people know how to balance a shotgun on their hand. Some people don't. I would like to keep myself in the can-do bracket. So 30 3/4, and the gun weighs £8. So that is just forward of the hinge pin, but it's pretty good. Just over £8, which for me is kind of like the magical figure, about 30 inches, about £8. It just feels lovely. Because the gun's not had any use, and because it's so solid, you shut it, it's just got that really, really reassuring clunk. If you've got one of these or you own one of these, you will know exactly what I'm referring to. Along the top of the action, we got that stippling effect, which we had from the 682, so no changes there. The guy that obviously designed the top levers and the top of the action was on holiday, so they carried on as it was. And then we move on to the stock, where there's more changes again. So with the stock, we went slightly higher in the cone. We went to 36.56 from the much lower, skinnier Supersport, which we looked at in a previous video. So a bit more wood in the comb, a bit higher in the stock, a slightly more recessed pistol grip, I would say. But what they did introduce with this is a palm swell. Now, interestingly enough, I've seen quite a few old 686s, 687s from earlier than this have got a palm swell, but it's never really made much sense, because the 682 Supersport didn't have a palm swell, and some of the 682 Sporters, the silver action ones, did have a palm swell. So again, I think in the UK it certainly wasn't an option, whereas worldwide you might have had the option of whether you wanted one with the palm swell or you wanted one without, I don't know. Checker in, double point, cool as anything. Really, really cool, really smart looking. I keep using the word cool, don't know why. But I think this gun is such a good looking gun, really sleek, like I say, really understated, and it just feels fantastic. The wood itself is typical of what you would have got at the time. I would imagine this is sort of class 2.5, class 3, strong in the head, nice bit of figuring. And also, this was the first time that Beretta used this leather-faced recoil pad. So standard stock length on this Beretta is 14 and 5/8 inches, which is 370 mil, I believe. And prior to this, like I said, with the 682 Supersport, you had a wooden butt plate or a plastic butt plate or one of those chamfered 15 mil jobbies. Beretta recognised the fact that some of the rubber pads were a bit snaggy, and so they went for this leather face one, which on the face of it looks dog-eared, but that's exactly how they came out the box. They were literally a piece of leather glued onto the back. I know I bang on about the condition of the guns that we saw specifically for this video, but this is a rare find. Virtually unused, completely original, exceptional condition. But I will point out a handy little tip for when you take your gun out of the cabinet. When you take your gun out of the cabinet, inevitably there's a lip at the bottom of them, so just give it a little bit of a lift, because what you tend to do is you will end up with these marks on the bottom of the stock, on the bottom of the toe, and you know, it's just annoying, especially when you look after your gun, that can happen. So just be a bit more careful, and that is my top tip of the day. So I'll refer back once again to the 682 Supersport video. At the time, that gun came in a cardboard box. If you wanted a case, you had to buy one, not with the 682 Gold. Now, although I don't talk about prices much, I can remember how much these guns were. When I started in the trade was actually 1996, 1997. And to buy a new 682 Gold then, they were about £1,300, which was quite a lot of money in essence, because if you bought a basic 686 Essential, for example, they were almost half that, and you do kind of get the same action and barrels, although obviously this one is out and out built for a clay munching machine, and that's where the difference is, particularly in the balance. Schnabel forend, if you bought a trap gun, it would have had a beaver tail. If you bought a skeet gun, I think that would have had a beaver tail as well, and the skeet gun would have been non-selective trigger, as would the trap. Skeet gun, skeet 28 inch, trap 30 and 32, and again I think they did the 31.5 and the 33/4. Same rib, non-selective trigger. Now, what's also interesting is this is another key fact with the 682 Gold. It was the first time that Beretta put a factory adjustable comb on a shotgun. I haven't got one to show you, but they did one. I think it was called a 682 Gold Super Sporter, and they literally cut the top off the comb like that, looked like it'd been done at play school, okay? And they removed the comb, and you had to take the pad off to change the comb, and they had 2 different combs or 3 different combs that gave you a different height. It was horrendous, and thankfully it didn't catch on. If you've got one of those guns, you will know exactly what I mean. They are out there, so the idea was you took the recoil pad off and you slipped the comb on before replacing the recoil pad. A lot more mucking about than obviously a modern adjustable comb where you get an Allen key out, fiddle around, change the height, change the cast, and then away you go. Back to the box, I'm waffling. Genuine ABS Beretta original case. Ta-da! Look at that. Everything is inside, and when I say everything, I mean everything. This gun, I was so pleased to get my hands on this gun. You have no idea, because we've got the most important thing of all. It's the Beretta Gold Team barrel sticker. Okay, so that would have gone on there, and you could have gone out on a Sunday morning, and everyone would have known that you weren't in the Beretta Gold Team. And alongside that, you had the skeet vest badge, which went in the, went on your skeet vest at the same time. But in terms of actual stuff with the gun, what you did get is you got this natty little box here, which had a spare trigger. Okay. Now, if you look at the trigger on the gun here, it's quite a fat paddle. So it's quite good for getting your finger round and giving you a good hand position. Whereas this one was a little bit skinnier, and that was in the little box. Alongside that, you got 2 different foresight beads, whether you were under 30 or partially sighted and needed a big one. So there's a couple of options there. And alongside the trigger, you've got the screwdriver to adjust the trigger and move it backwards and forwards. Stock bolt tool. I think I've covered this in a couple of videos, but I'm going to say it again. In terms of a Beretta, if you've got a Beretta, most Berettas come with them. I think if you buy something like a new silver pitching one, you probably don't get one. They definitely come with 694s, DT11s and the like. This gun, with being the older one, has got the hole in the pad. Most of the modern ones have got a hole in the pad. Stick your stock bolt straight up the back and then just give it a tighten up, because what will happen inevitably is the more you shoot the gun, the stock bolt will become ever so slightly loose, and then you run the risk of a loose stock and a cracked stock, etc. Another top tip from me. These are free, remember, we don't charge anything for this channel. Back in the box. Barrel socks, stock socks, all original. A genuine Beretta oil bottle with genuine Beretta oil. Beretta mobile chokes, 5er standard. A better key than you get these days. It's actually made of metal rather than some kind of nasty plastic. And the all-important book of words. In fact, here we have, in Italian, telling you how to adjust, tighten the stock up like I've just shown you. It was almost like it was planned. Special tool for removing the stock, that's me. Right, okay. And there you go, there's the book of words. So that pretty much sums up what is one of the most sought after Beretta competition over and unders you can buy. These guns in this condition with the barrel stickers and all the bump do not exist. This has been a special moment for me to get hold of this gun. This gun is now going off to a new home in Northern Ireland. But interestingly enough, I think the reason you don't see a lot of them is, from memory, there was a big hike in the price from the standard 682 at the time. And if you got a good 682, you didn't need to swap it. You didn't want the 13 3/4 inch. You didn't care for the matte finish. You weren't bothered about the palm swell. Ultimately, you'd have kept it. And this gun only lasted about 4 or 5 years in production, and then it all changed again with the Goldie. And that is why, certainly here in the UK, you don't see many of them. So that's a wrap. The Beretta 682 Gold, another absolute cracker from Eastfield Gunroom. If you've got any comments about this, any other Beretta, any other shotgun, comment below. Send us an email. Check out the website. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, because if you want to keep seeing fantastic specimens like this, not me, I'm on about the gun, tune in next time. We'll see you soon. Cheers.